Hey honey, I'm taking the Tacoma.
Well, good afternoon everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Hey, today I wanted to get on here and talk about a serious topic, a very serious topic. We're not going to do any mods today. We're not going to wash the truck. We're not going to do anything like that. Today we're going to talk about Territorial Tacoma Ownership. That's right, a serious topic. Territorial Tacoma Ownership. Now, what do I mean about that? Well, do you get territorial when it comes to your Tacoma? Do you worry about it? Are you always fearful when you're not with it? Is it yours? Well, the first thing that I want to mention is fear of others. Fear of others. That Tacoma is your territory. There's like a bubble around it, right? Nobody is supposed to come within that bubble. That is your truck and it's your bubble. Now, what about parking lots, right? You go to a parking lot, try to get that perfect spot. If you're like me, you park far away because you don't want anybody invading your territory, right? Nobody can come within that bubble. It never fails though, right? You come outside and somebody, usually with a beater, is parked right next to you, or a great big giant truck. The worst thing is when one of those lawn care guys with a trailer pulls right up beside your truck. Because if you're like me, you know there's a big turning radius on those, and you always worry when they pull out, are they going to turn and scrape the front of your truck with the side of their trailer? I worry about those kind of things, and I know there are those of you out there that do too, because you've told me you do. The next thing is fear of friends. Friends are great. Friends are great to hang out with, do stuff with, talk to, you know, experience life. But do you ever get that queasy feeling when a friend says, I need to move something, can I borrow your truck? Do you let them borrow your truck? Do you go with them? What do you do? I've experienced this before. I guess I'm very selfish when it comes to, or maybe selfish isn't the right word, overly concerned, protective, territorial of my Tacoma up there. I mean, look at it. It's just sitting up there, all protected, all nice and fairly clean, not really in any danger, unless the lift falls down, which I also worry about. But what if you don't let them take it? What if you do agree and you say, yeah, but I'm going to come and I'll help you? And how many people out there have helped only because they don't want their friends driving their truck, so now they get to do some manual labor to protect your truck? Have you ever done that? You know, you feel guilty, you've got this truck, they are your friend after all, and we do really want to help out our friends, right? But you volunteer to go along and help so that you can drive your truck and you can make sure that nobody damages it, that they treat it the way that you want it to be treated, right? And along with that, have you ever been in one of those situations where people are moving stuff and maybe they got something heavy and they kind of hit the back of your tailgate, or maybe they jump up on your tailgate? I mean, those things aren't indestructible. Or they put it in your bed and they slide it in and you hear that and you're like, oh my God. Have you ever experienced that? I have. Next, the dealership. The dealership. Sooner or later, if you have a new truck, you're going to have to take it in for some reason. Whether it's the free oil changes, whether it's some recall, whether something fails and you've got to take it in under warranty, but you're going to have to take it in for some reason. And how does it feel when you hand those keys over to that guy, usually a kid, behind that counter that you don't know? You don't know. It feels bad, doesn't it? You start to worry a little bit. It just doesn't feel good, man. And you always hope that nothing's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, a while back, and this wasn't my Tacoma, it was a Honda Civic I had, brand new. 3 weeks I had that car. Took it in for some kind of warranty work, and I got a call. That horrible, dreaded, unwanted call for the dealership telling me that the lot attendant who was bringing it into the shop hit the overhead door. Apparently the overhead door wasn't up high enough, or it was coming down, I don't know. He drove under it, he hit it. He put a great big scratch and a about a hand-sized dent in the front of my car. I was horrified. I jumped in my other car and I rode up there to see it, and it wasn't pretty. Another story, real quick, I'll tell you. I had that same car shipped, or actually it was a different one, same model, shipped from Ohio to Columbus, and the rocket scientists that shipped it put a guy in it to courier it to my house from the semi who didn't know how to drive a manual transmission. He smoked my transmission. I don't know, so I guess in that case, my fear was warranted because the worst did happen. What about car washes? You ever take your car through one of those car washes? Those are probably one of the scariest things you can do, right? Because you hear all kinds of horror stories about those, you know? You drive through and those giant brushes that look like they could just rip the metal right off your car, scraping around your paint and stuff, and you know it's scratching it, right? I mean, how clean are those things? You run a million cars through there. They've got to have little bitty grainy and, you know, dirt stuck in them, and it's like they're sanding your finish, right? Or, if you're really unlucky, and I've had this happen, they rip your antenna off, maybe knock a mirror off. I've heard of both of those things happening. What about your license plate? You ever look at your license plate after they're done? Usually it's bent. It's bent forward, bent sideways, bent somewhere if they didn't just rip it off. That's got to tell you the kind of force that those things are hitting with when they're spinning around, pummeling your car, right? You ever worry about that kind of stuff? I do. Now, this last one. This last one is a touchy subject. The spouse. The spouse. You know, if your household is like mine, you have your own vehicle, and your wife or your husband has their own vehicle, and that's what you drive primarily, right? I mean, you don't usually share them. You might jump in one with your spouse to run to the store or something, but you don't normally share them. You don't usually throw the keys over or they just take it, you know? So you worry, and that creates a little bit of tension, you know, because I gotta say, and I'm guilty of this myself, if you look right out here in the driveway, you see this lovely, brand new Jeep JL sitting right there. Now, that is not my Jeep. That is my wife's Jeep. She got that Jeep because she wanted it. And she's the same way I am. She doesn't want me driving her Jeep. It's a territorial thing. It's her Jeep. It's her territory. Stay the hell out of my bubble. You know what I'm saying? Don't get near my truck or my Jeep. But what happens when your spouse comes to you and says, hey, I feel like taking the Tacoma today. Do you mind if I take the Tacoma? And you get that little, you know, it's kind of like biting down on foil if you have fillings. Have you ever bitten down on foil with fillings? The old kind of fillings, the silver fillings. It doesn't do it with the new, you know, fancy polycarbonate or whatever fillings. The old style silver fillings. If you haven't done it and you have silver fillings, give it a try. You'll know what I'm talking about. But it's kind of that, you know, that little real quick. You just feel it real quick. And your territorial level starts to rise a little bit. You're like, why do you want to take my truck? Well, it's low on gas. Well, I'll go ahead and fill it up, honey. It's no big deal. You're like, damn, that didn't work. And then what do you do? Well, kind of like the moving thing, right? You kind of get sucked in. You get sucked in because you're like, well, you know what? I'll just go with you. You don't want to go clothes shopping, right? You don't want to go look at clothes for 3 hours, but you do it. You do it because you don't want them driving your Tacoma, right? It's your Tacoma. Stay away from my truck. You have your own. I mean, she has this nice, pretty Jeep out here. Why in the world would she want to drive my Tacoma? I don't know. But it's invading my space, man. It's getting in my bubble. It's violating the Tacoma territorial rule. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about that a little bit. Very serious topic. Territorial Tacoma ownership. Do you experience that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Does it ever happen to you? Or am I just some kind of weirdo? I don't think so. I see a lot of comments from people out there, especially when it comes to dealerships and parking lots. As usual, appreciate you guys watching. Leave a comment down below. How do you feel? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the web. Have a great day. Bye.